Can everybody who's in hear me okay? Someone want to say something in the chat just so I know? All right, excellent. We'll get started here in a couple minutes. Welcome, welcome. For those of you just joining, welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started here in a couple minutes. Just let some more people come on and wait till 6 o'clock on the button. Thank you for your attendance. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you guys for your attendance. I'm going to give a brief introduction while people are coming on board. So today we're going to be talking about using Griffeye Technology to increase efficiency and results. My name is Eric Oldenburg. I am a 24-year veteran of the Phoenix Police Department. It is bright and early 6 a.m. Phoenix, Arizona time. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night for all those people coming from other parts of the world. I did 24 years as a police officer in Phoenix with 15 years as a Internet Crimes Against Children investigator. I split that down the middle. About 7 years I was an investigator, and about 7 years I was a computer forensic examiner. And the reason I'm here with Griffeye today is because I'm just a user. I'm a guy that had a unit. We recognized a need for having a specialized tool to go through the huge amounts of pictures and videos that we were getting in cases recently. It is not uncommon for us to see cases that involve images in the range of 500,000 to over a million, a couple million. One of the last investigations I did had 1.2 million pictures and videos I had to go through. Anyway, several years ago, we identified this product as something that could really help us dig down into these huge piles of media that we had to go through and really help us find information and data that we wouldn't otherwise find, that we would if we were using a different tool, such as some of the other ones that are designed for full forensics. This is a tool that's designed specifically for pictures and videos. And the power of this tool is the reason we adopted it. In our unit, we had a couple people leave because of overexposure, and some of the things that I'm going to show you today can minimize that, which is very important. We want to keep you guys healthy, keep you in the fight, especially for all the child sex abuse investigators out there. I know some of you aren't, and we'll show you how this tool can also help your investigations as well. Anyway, so today I'm going to discuss basically the power of this tool. Filters are just an amazing piece of software here built in that we can just quickly get rid of things or focus on certain things. We're going to go into that. We'll talk about the de-duplicating of files to minimize exposure and only have to make a decision once on several images that match, whether they be by MD5 matching or photo DNA matching. We're going to talk about those techniques in our databases, how we can maximize our workflows and exclude known files. We're going to talk about using some of the new technologies built into Griffeye Analyze DI. And then we'll talk a little bit about features that we have in development coming soon if we have time. And then I'd like to do a little Q&A session. So without further ado, let's jump into the software. So hopefully you guys can see my screen here. One of the first things I want to talk about, and the theme of this is going to be basically work smart. Be smart when you're doing these types of investigations or examinations. Use tools that are going to help reduce your workload. And you have to think of it as you have these giant cases that you have to get through. And I know a lot of you out there have big backlogs, and using a tool like this is one of the ways we can get through those backlogs. One of the things that we do before we get going is we want to make sure that we have the software set up properly, that we go to our Analyze Forensic market and we make sure we have all our things installed. Camera forensics will go into our face detection, which is recently updated. All of these are apps that are installed and ready to go. My video utility pack, and then we also have the Griffeye CSA Brain, which is in beta right now, and our objects. We're going to talk about that a little bit today as well. So we have all those selected and ready to go. One of the things that's important for you guys to help reduce your workload and time on target is to make sure you have your databases set up properly so that it can basically, you're using the databases to harness the power of crowdsourcing, basically. So we're going to load these databases with files, known files that people have seen before and have identified as either child sex abuse, non-pertinent, or other types of files. So when you set up this software, make sure that you have your databases populated. In America, in USA, we use Project Vic, but wherever your databases, wherever the data you get come from, make sure you have these databases. And what these databases do is, as you bring a case in, Griffeye is going to check each and every file against the database to see if it's seen before. So as an example, I have this training database that is loaded up with a small set of files, but the schema in the United States is there's non-pertinent, child abuse, child exploitive, CGI animation. So as it brings files in, it looks at them and it can pre-categorize for you and tell you, hey, this is non-pertinent. So in the real world, you're going to have a lot larger data sets. As you can see here, I have the NIST NSRL database of known software. It's a known software reference library loaded with about 65 million known non-pertinent files. So once you have this set up, so you have your MD5 as well as your photo DNA, and we're going to talk about that a little bit here, two separate databases. These are my training ones and these are my Project Vic ones. And then I have a Project Vic non-pertinent set as well. So one thing I want to show you that you can do in a case, if you were to process a case originally, I already have one in the oven here for you, but when you process in, one of the things you can do is on the exclude files, so a way that you can basically get through large swaths of data, large sets that you're not concerned with, is as you create a case and import evidence, you can set it to exclude files that have already categorized. So as it checks it coming in, if you select non-pertinent and check this box, as it processes the data in, it says, hey, this is a non-pertinent file. Don't even bring it into the case. That's one way that you can exclude lots and lots of files that are going to be irrelevant to you. And the other option you can do is you can exclude the files with hits in a particular database. So if I want to say, hey, anything that's in the NIST NSRL data set that I have, I can exclude it before it even comes in. That's another way to get it through large chunks of data. And then when you're bringing in your evidence, also make sure that you want to run your, any apps or anything that you're going to run against it, all your plugins, make sure that happens on the way in. So I have set, this case has been processed with all the apps and all the plugins. The other thing I want you guys to think about too, as well, is, you're accumulating this knowledge of these data sets that you can load into your databases. And when I do that, I want to show you that you can bring in several different types of files. You can import several different types of data into your databases. It's not specific to any one thing. It's very open. But also, when you bring in your files, what we talked about a second ago, I'm going to bring this back up real quick, is think about using AI and harnessing the power of artificial intelligence. Let the computer do the work, do as much work as it can. One of the good things about AI is that it doesn't get tired. It doesn't want to quit. It doesn't have a bad day. It doesn't ask for a raise. It just works. It doesn't incur that trauma that we incur as child abuse investigators, if that's what you do. The idea is to just basically let the computer do the heavy lifting and let it do what it does. So prioritization of the data once it comes in is the next step. And what you can do is you can use filters. And over here on the right-hand side, we have all of our filters. And they're organized nicely into tabs: EXIF, File, Intelligence, and Apps. So what we can do is we can use our filters to basically figure out how we're going to approach this work. If we're doing victim identification work where I want to see if there are first-generation images being produced, let's say, then I'm very interested in any of the EXIF information on any of the files that exist in this case. So one of the first things we can do is, let's assume you've done a search warrant at an offender's house, or you have evidence at their house. You found some cameras and you want to see exactly what photographs have been taken with the cameras that you found on scene. So let's say, for example, you found an Apple. You didn't know what it was. It was some type of an iPhone. So you can quickly select that box. And now I have just filtered my view down to just the pictures that have been taken with an Apple product. And I can hover over the thumbnail header icons and say, hey, here it is. This happens to be an iPhone 4S. But that's a quick way to filter down to that. You can also, if I close this, you can also go down to camera model. If you happen to know what the camera model is, let's say you saw or seized a Canon EOS 450D out on scene and you want to see what photographs that have taken, you can do that as well. One of the other cool things you can do is, I'm going to close this down and say, hey, I just want to see pictures that have serial numbers. If we're having an individual who's creating first generation images, typically there'll be a serial number embedded in the EXIF data of these photographs, which Griffeye Analyze does a great job bringing to the forefront, just based on these thumbnail header icons that you can see. You hover over and they give you the information about what EXIF information it was able to glean. So with that, so let's use this file as an example. This young lady, and it's telling me the thumbnail header icon has that pound sign. It's saying, hey, there is a serial number embedded in this photograph, but I don't happen to know or too much more information. I just want to find right now all the other pictures in this case or videos that contain that same serial number. So one of the things I can do is I can right click and go to search for same EXIF serial number, and it's kicked me over to the search tab now, but now it's showing me all the photographs that were taken with that same camera serial number. And then I can continue to do my work from this point, whatever I need to do. I'm going to go back to the thumbnail view and unfilter. That's one quick way to work on a victim ID approach. We want to find out what images and videos the offender or your suspect is possibly creating. That's a good way to do it. Another really cool feature for filters that I want to talk about is your date range. So if I want to see, if I have a victim, say, or somebody that says this happened between a certain date and time, I want to see the pictures that were taken in just between, we'll say, January 1st and April 30th, and I click OK. It just filtered down to all the photographs that were taken between that date range, which is pretty slick if that's what you want to do. So that's a cool tool. One of the other, sorry about that. One of the other ones is this EXIF filter. So it's an EXIF filter within an EXIF filter. And a couple of things you can do with this are you can show me, hey, I want to see just the files with GPS data, say, and I can see here now that my thumbnail header icon has changed, and it now is showing me, hey, this file has GPS coordinates in it. And if I have the file selected and I click on it, it brings up this window, and let me bring up my offline maps, and it shows me exactly where that photograph was taken. So you can actually plot files, or excuse me, plot your images that are important to you. You can go ahead and plot them on a map as well. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to skip over this EXIF thumbnail mismatch and go down to GPS position. Let's say you have a investigation and you want to see if your offender is producing photographs or taking them in your local jurisdiction. So I'm going to select this GPS position, and I know that my offender or lives in Arizona. So I'm going to zoom in on Arizona, and I want to see just the photographs that were taken there. If I click this filter based on selected map, it just filtered down to all the pictures that were taken in that fence that I created. And I'm going to select them all and go over to map, and here's the call outs of all the images and exactly where they were taken, which is pretty cool. It's a good way to identify anything that's happening in your local jurisdiction. I'm going to clear that filter. One other thing we like to talk about is EXIF thumbnail mismatching. So if I select this, it's going to show me all the files that contain a file where the EXIF thumbnail, the embedded thumbnail of an image that exists in the EXIF area of the file, does not match the actual photograph. So as you can see in this example, there's a little red box, and anytime I see a thumbnail header icon with a red box, it indicates that there is a mismatched EXIF thumbnail. So if I want to look at it, I just select the box again, and it's showing me, hey, here's the EXIF thumbnail image on the right-hand side. This is what's embedded in the case, and here's the image that the offender or whoever has modified so you can't see it. So that's an excellent feature right there. You can go through. We'll use this girl in a blue dress as an example. I'm going to look at this image, and it says, hey, here's the EXIF thumbnail, but according to this, there is more than one embedded. There's a second EXIF thumbnail. If I hit that arrow, it shows me, hey, it's actually a little more resolute than the first thumbnail. You might not be able to make an identification there, but you certainly can with that embedded thumbnail. That's very powerful. Also, you can also, I want to talk about being able to group and sorting things. So think about how you want to approach your investigation and what type of grouping you want to do. Let's say you have, you just want to take a look at the pictures, have them basically group by EXIF. Hey, I want to see how many files we have here with EXIF serial numbers, and how many with thumbnail mismatches, things like that. You can kind of approach your work in a way, hey, I just want to look at the pictures with GPS coordinates. I can group that way if I want to. You can also group by category. In this example, so these are all the pre-categorizations, and I will bring this up over here on the right. These are all the pre-categorizations. I've just grouped all these files by category, and then I can actually subgroup again by EXIF. So, hey, I just want to see the uncategorized files, the ones that nobody's seen before. I want to see the ones, and I've grouped it by how many have EXIF to serial number, GPS, that type of thing. All right, I'm going to clear my filters and sorting. So one of the other things is that we have now is, before I forget, I want to talk about categorization. So each one of these files has been categorized. So it brought it in, it checked the database, and it said, hey, the MD5 or the photo DNA in this file match, and these are all child abuse material. These are all child exploitative. These are CGI animation. Here's the non-pertinent files, the ones that have been flagged as non-pertinent at all. And then the ones we want to focus on are our uncategorized files. So it's done that work ahead of you. It said, hey, someone else has seen this. There's no need to be exposed to it. There's no reason to, other than maybe looking at it for charging. This is a file that's been seen. Someone else has seen it. He's been charged with it. That type thing. So what it does here is it'll pre-categorize, and as I click on each one of these, it filters down to just that category. One of the other things that we have now is the AI, the CSA brain. So along with the object detection as well, which is now built into, or I'm sorry, is not built in, is a plugin for Griffeye Analyze. So it'll actually go through the pictures and videos and look for particular objects. Perhaps your investigation has to do with something important, you know, I don't know, let's just say this lobster for an example. So as it brought the file in, it said, hey, look at this, it's a picture of lobsters, and it detects all kinds of really cool stuff, dogs all the way down to, it says, hey, there's a Chihuahua, these are unspecified dogs, and there's a Labrador Retriever. Oh, no Labrador Retriever there. I gotta undo my uncategorized, there he is. So it can go through and detect objects for you. If you have something that's, you know, germane to your investigation, you can quickly go right to it, as it's already done it. The computer has done the work for you already. So another thing I wanted to highlight is the Griffeye Brain, which is now in beta. It's artificial intelligence that's going to look at pictures and videos and say, hey, I'm going to make a determination that I believe there's a high probability this is a CSA image, a low probability, or I'm uncertain. And when I say I mean the artificial intelligence is uncertain about what it is. So if I select this CSA high, these are some images that were tested. And notice it has flagged each one of these and bookmarked them with the CSA high score. I can start my investigation with that. And if I select this file and I scroll all the way down on my summary, it shows my CSA score is 98. 98, 99, or 100, it's going to be put in the CSA high category for you. Anything that is between 97 and I believe a score of 3 is going to put it in the uncertain. And it's just doing this on uncategorized files. Notice that if I clear my filters and I look over here, this file has already been categorized, so the brain didn't look at it. There's no need to waste any time on that. It's only made a determination on uncategorized files. And one thing I can do is part of my workflow is I can sort now by CSA score. So if I want to select over here, I can now, my files are now sorted. I'm going to filter to to uncategorized, and I've got my CSA low scores at the top if I want to knock those out. And then as I can see down at the bottom, it goes to uncertain and then low. So that's another way you can use the power of the program to approach your case. Let me clear my filters and sorting. So one thing I forgot to talk about, I'll mention real quick is de-duplication. So not only does Griffeye Analyze, as it brings files in, pre-categorizes or makes a determination and says, hey, this file is known to be CSA, it's, you know, or it's non-pertinent, or it's in whatever category. Griffeye Analyze also deduplicates by stacking MD5 and photo DNA matches. So any file that matches via photo DNA or MD5, it's going to stack them all together. So if I select this file here, let's say, for example, this bowl of grapes is an abuse image, and in a typical investigation, or, you know, years past, you'd have to look at this file 13 different times and make 13 different determinations on however you're going to bookmark it, flag it, whatever. But Griffeye Analyze has stacked all the duplicate files that exist for this particular file. So if I hover over it, it shows me all the image groups and all the different sizes where this exists. So this is an extremely powerful part of the program that, you know, some people, I would say it's kind of underrated. And the reason that is because the deduplication of these files and the way it stacks images reduces exposure, especially for the child abuse investigators. You guys incur vicarious trauma, and the less material you have to look at, the longer you can stick around and continue in this fight and be able to go and find those victims that we're after. Because remember, if you're doing CSA investigations, where it's all about locating those children that are in a horrible situation and that we don't know about. So let's try to, let's work on that and make it through by not having to go through so much data and so many pictures and videos. So if I want to make a determination on this file, I say, hey, this is child abuse. I can just categorize it, and it's very simple. It's if I want to make this a category 1, I would hit the 1 key, 2 key, 3 key, 4 key, whatever I want to do. So I want to make this a category 1 file. I can select that and make it a category 1 file if I want. And now it's categorized as such, and I can continue in my investigation. One of the things you can do as well is when you're categorizing, for those of you who use this software often and you're categorizing a lot of files, you can set it to hide the thumbnail after your categorization. So notice I just categorized this file, but it's still on my screen. Well, if you want to set it to not have to look at that anymore, you can set this hide thumbnail after categorization. And then what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll filter to my uncategorized files. Oops, try that one more time. There's my uncategorized files. So if I want to make a determination on this and I say it's a 1, notice that as I categorize it, it disappears. It's off my screen. I don't have to worry about it. It hasn't removed it from the case. It's just set up so that I don't have to look at it anymore. And some people like that in their workflow and some people don't. You can categorize multiple files at once. There's a quick set category 2 as well, where you can set files, all the visible files on a page. We'll set it to whatever quick set category you set. I'm going to say non-pertinent. So if I want to quick set these and I want to make a determination on all these files, all I have to do is hit the plus key, and it just categorized all those files. I don't know if you saw it real quickly. I'll do it again, and disappeared off my screen. So I don't have to worry about exposure or looking at it anymore as well. That's just a workflow idea for you. So one of the other powerful tools that we have here is our ability to handle video. And I'm going to go to my filters. I'm going to go File and open up video files. So notice one of the cool things, oh, I got too many filters. Let me try that again. All right, here's all my videos in the case. One of the great things about this tool as well is as it brings in the videos, it creates this collage for you, and I can watch this video without ever having to click on it or open it up. I can basically watch the extracted frames just by hovering my mouse over it. So I can quickly clear out a lot of images. And I will tell you right now, the second to last investigation I did as an internet crimes investigator, there were 1.2 million files that I had to go through. After Griffeye deduplicated and pre-categorized files, it was a 65% reduction in just the amount of videos and pictures I had to look at. And I was able to breeze through files like this that I know aren't important, but I don't know until I watch them. So you can get through this stuff really fast. You can watch the video just like that. So if I want to look at a video more in depth, I can double click, or I can go into the file view, and here's my here's the video. This is a surveillance footage. One thing I want to show is if I click over to the player with the video utility pack, there's scene detection, which it's detected that basically nothing changes for 9 minutes, 14 seconds, and then we got a car coming in. If I want to watch this video, I can watch the entire thing at once like this. I can speed it up if I want. Change this to 4x. But it's going to still take me forever to get through this video. So one thing you can do is I can go to this 12 frame view, and it splits up the entire video into 12 frames or 6 frames or 9 frames. So I can potentially get through a hour and 16 minute long video in just a matter of minutes by playing it however I get this set up. And notice the timeline, these playheads are moving on the bottom. So with the advanced utility pack, one cool thing I can do as well is I can filter this video, and I just want to see where there's motion. So just play for me the video where there's motion, I can go up to this filters, motion, just show me the parts of the video with motion. Now watch this playhead down at the bottom as I press now this filtered play view. And I'm going to speed this up to 4x and hit the filter. Notice it just jumped over to where there's motion in the video. Here comes the car in. Watch that scrub at the bottom. It just skipped over about 40 minutes of dead space. So you can see how quickly you can get through a video like this by harnessing the tools that are built in. They're pretty cool. So that's a very awesome feature. So we also want to talk about being able to show the relationships between files. So one thing we can do, let's say you have an investigation and you are involved in, you have pictures of an individual, you have a possible victim that you have, and you want to see if there's any other pictures. You could do similarity search pictures. You can bring an external photo in and do a similarity search. You can look for photo DNA matches or similar faces. So let me back up a second. With the face detection app, Griffeye Analyze has detected the faces that it could in all these, all the pictures as it came in. And one thing I could do if I want to just see the faces, I can go to my apps tab and go to face, this filter, and just say, hey, just show me the pictures that have faces embedded in it. And Griffeye has detected a face within this photograph. So one thing I can do is I can do a search for faces similar to a face that exists inside the case or one that's external to the case. So let me, you can also search within video. So you can search for a similar face within a video, and we'll show that here in a second. So I'm going to go to my bookmarks and grab my demo file. So here's a picture of my lovely daughter who is kind enough to donate the images of her for this webinar. Let's say I have this picture, or I've come across this picture in my investigation, and I want to see all the other images that have a similar face to my daughter's face. Or let's say this happens to be your victim. So I select this box and I drag it over her face. And I click this button right here that says find images with similar faces. So I click that, and it has found all these images and videos, including in a video. So it found her similar face in a video, and all these pictures. There's the results of just doing that face detection on her face. So now let's say you have an external image that you want to look at. You happen to have a picture of a suspect or a victim, and you want to search for somebody externally. So we'll search for a picture of my wife that she's going to kill me, that I put this on the webinar for all you to see. So now that just performed a similar faces from an external image. So notice it's pulled up these similar pictures. And again, this is a similarity search, so it's not the exact faces, but they're closer and closer the higher you are to the top, and then you can do whatever you want to do with those pictures. So another pretty cool thing is we can search for similar faces within a video. So let's say, for example, this particular video is of importance and you find it, and this contains your suspect, and you want to look for all the similar imagery containing this individual. Whoops, I can go over to the area of the video that I want to get his face right there. That'll work. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select his face and do a similar faces. And there it's found all the pictures, even the ones included in ID cards and such, that of that individual. That is pretty awesome that it does it. And it's been recently improved. One thing I will tell you guys, for those of you using face, is in the Analyze Forensic Market, go to the Settings tab in Face. in Face. And if you scroll down, the developers, amazing group of people there in Sweden, have done a wonderful job of giving you basically some options where you can set the face settings however you'd like them. Pretty easy. And you can try it. The accuracy will vary depending on how you have it set up, but go onto that settings tab and it'll get that information for you. It's really good. So we had a question come in about bringing in or starting a case initially. And, the way to do that, there's a couple different ways. You can go to your file tab and go new case. And it'll prompt you to, hey, where do you want to keep this case? And I'll say Griffeye. I'll put it in my cases folder and call it training. Walkthrough demo. Save. Okay. So because people were asking questions, you can bring in several different sources into this software. You can bring a forensic image, any of the open source forensic image, including EO1s, ISOs, bins, DDs. It does not carve. Realize it does not carve those images. You can also bring in a VIX case or a JSON exported case from whatever software tool you use. You can actually you can export from Griffeye Analyze a VIX case that contains all the media and all the file information and bring it into another installation. Say your workflow is your forensic examiner processes all the data and then gives it to an investigator. They can then put it on their installation and open it up, and it looks just like it was a regular case. You can also bring in a C for all extraction, which is the end script from Ncase, and you can also bring in a folder as well. So I'm going to select, just for purposes of this quick demo, I'm going to bring in a folder and call it this. And basically, when you import your images, you're going to go through and it's going to say, hey, what do you want to do? What are your settings? Most of the defaults are pretty good. They've been selected and vetted by people who have done investigations, and the developers are fantastic about if there's something that works for most people, they'll work it into the software for you. So also on your imports, it does a lot of work for you. In order for face detection to work in video, just note that you have to have it checked here in the video options. I'm going to click next. And here's that exclude filters I was showing you guys. If you want to exclude files as they come in, you can exclude from whatever database. Otherwise, it's going to check all the files against all the databases. We typically set this 50 by 50 parameter on exclude images that are smaller or videos that are smaller than 50 pixels or 50 bytes. That's because of the restrictions on photo DNA. It can't operate on files that are smaller than that, so you won't get that deduplication and stacking. And typically those files are so small it's hard to discern what's in them anyway. And then I click next, and then here's all the apps that I'm going to run against it. If I wanted to do the CSA brain or object detection, I can do that as well. So then at that point, once I get to the end, I'm going to put in all my information, click next, and it's going to tell me, hey, this is what you're going to do. And when I click start, which I'm not going to for this demonstration, it pre-processes. So it's going to do all the work ahead of time. It's going to do all the pre-processing. As it brings in the files, as it brings in the videos, it's going to check them against the databases. It's going to process them. It's going to do frame extraction. It does a whole bunch of the heavy lifting up front, so that when it's time for you to look through your investigation, you can just go ahead and do so. You can get to work as soon as it's done processing. Now, if you want to start working on things before it's all in, once Griffeye gets some, a good amount of pictures and videos, it starts throwing them up into the thumbnail view for you, so that you don't have to wait until everything is done processing. So all those apps that are run, that's done after Griffeye does all the heavy lifting. And some of those apps that I'll go through real quick, go to bookmarks, apps. So like we talked about, we can filter down to faces. If we have a keyword, we can check our keyword matches. Just show me the files that match whatever my keyword library is. And here's a list of the keywords that I brought in. That's on my apps tab, and I can manage and bring in a keyword dictionary. This one happens to be child exploitive. So I can filter to just keywords if I want. Another app that it'll run against is it'll reverse geolocate. So anything that has this little fence post, if you hover over it, it tells you exactly where the file was taken based on the GPS coordinates that are embedded in the EXIF area of the file. And you can also do the reverse geolocating here. One cool tool that also helps you increase your workflow and work smarter is the social media identifier. So what this does is it goes through and it checks the files for a naming convention. It does not, this particular part does not connect to the internet. Camera forensics does, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what this does is it checks the file's naming convention to see if it's in alignment with these known social media pages. So I'm going to select this social media network, Facebook, and I'm going to say, hey, here, this file, these are all the files that have a hit on social media identifier, which is in the upper right-hand corner of your thumbnail view. Now I want to look at this file. I just select, bring that over for you. I just hit the button, and there's Rich Brown, the father of Project Vic, but it took me right to the Facebook page, and notice the Facebook ID here 102769. Sorry, matches this 102769. So it's basically looked at this file and said, hey, this appears to be from a Facebook page. It also works for Flickr. So these are all the images that have been uploaded to Flickr. If I select that again, there's the Flickr account that this file was uploaded to. Let's say this is important in your investigation, or it's child abuse or something like that in the imagery. Now you have a lead you can get to from outside the internet. This looks like it's under this Annabelle Lozado with a username of Prixtina. You can then go to that particular website and serve them with process or whatever that, wherever your case may lead you. We also have Imgur. So let's talk about camera forensics. Camera forensics is a way to harness the power of the internet and open source photo pages and things like that. So I'm gonna select files that just have hits on camera forensics, and you can see up here in the upper left-hand corner, or excuse me, upper right-hand corner of the thumbnail view that you have an icon that says, hey, this match against camera forensics. So let's use this file right here, and let's take a look at what camera forensics says about it. Now, camera forensics is a website that crawls the public internet for files that contain EXIF data. So anywhere a file's been uploaded to the public internet, it basically crawls it and keeps a database of all those files. So I happen to pick this image because it's important in my investigation. So I sent it to camera forensics, and again, this gets processed on the way in. So once the processing is done, you can just click on any hit over here, and it'll bring you to the website. You do not have to be on a internet connected computer in order to use this technology. You can also select as many files as you want. So let's say just this one. I can export a JSON and then take that to an internet connected computer and go online and go directly to camera forensics. And I can look at that. Let's see. And I can look directly at camera forensics. So in this case, we've selected this file. It's a Nikon D90 with this particular serial number. And it says, hey, here's all these matches that we found on the internet. We found 225 million pictures uploaded to the public internet space that were a Nikon camera. But I'm just interested in the ones with the make, model, and this particular serial number. I want to see all those pictures. So I'm going to select that and say, hey, where were all these pictures uploaded to the internet? And here's a list of where it was able to find all the pictures that have the make, model, and this particular serial number. Think about this being a camera that you find in your investigation. And at the search warrant and you want to see what other pictures or if he's uploaded anything to the internet. So, and here you go, you can scroll down and see there's all the pictures. There's the actual photograph that we found in our case. And now we have a lead external to our investigation as BC and bits, or, you know, more BCN, whatever. So that's pretty slick. There's also other things you can do on camera forensics. You can actually send up, this is where you would upload that JSON file that you exported if you were on an internet disconnected computer, but you can also search for all kinds of cool information on here. But Griffeye gives you a direct link to that website so that you can harness the power of the information contained within files in your case, as well as information that is external to your investigation. So one thing I wanted to show you too is that we can search for files based on relationships. So I want to look at, I find a file that's important to my investigation, and I want to say, hey, I want to see all the related files. A couple things you can do. Built into Griffeye Analyze is the ability to run similarity searches. So there's basically three kinds of matching in Griffeye. There's MD5 matching, which is binary matching. There is photo DNA matching, which stacks, which we talked about. It's going to stack all these files. But then there's visually similar or vector image hashing. So if I want to do a similarity search on this particular file, I want to see all the pictures that look kind of similar to this file, because these two women are important in my investigation. Excuse me. I select the file and I hit the enter key, and it took me over to the search tab, and it started searching for files that are similar to that file. And notice that the hits are closer as to the top, and they get less and less close as you go down. But now I can go through and bookmark these files or do whatever I need to do with these files. I can then select another one within the search tab and hit enter again and find even more files, and, you know, using this similarity algorithm, which is really cool. I can also do a relationship search. So I want to see how this file is related to other files within my case. I'm going to open up my relation search settings. So if I right click and go relation search settings, I can open this up and it says, hey, it's going to search for all these things that I have checked. It'll search for files with the same EXIF serial number, taken within a date range that you can edit if you want. You can change that within a GPS range. You can change these parameters. It's also going to do same folder, same keyword matches, anything visually similar or a similar face as well. So if I can just right click and say search for relationships. And also before I click on that, notice that I can search for files in the same folder. So say I found this file and I want to see everything else in the same folder. If I click on that, it'll show me all the files in the same folder or recursively as well. So I'm going to go up to just show me those relationships, and it kicks me over and it says, hey, here's the files and here's all the matches and how they're related. This folder is visually similar. This is all in the same folder. The resolution is the same on this picture, things like that. So now I want to search for, I want to open this up in a visual manner. So I'm going to use Analyze Relations, the app, and I'm going to open up this picture. And what I can do here in Analyze Relations is I can build a visual map of all the related files to this file. And all I do is hover over to these binoculars, open it up, and notice now that I can select, hey, this says there's 9 images that have similar faces. And when I click on that, it brings it up in this map. But also notice that it'll also look for files with the same serial number, GPS, EXIF date, resolution, folder. I can create these maps from all kinds of different data, the same relation data that I had selected before. So I'm going to bring this out like this. And now I can select another image and say, hey, show me all the faces that have similar faces in this one. Or I can select another file. This has 16 faces that are matched. So there's the ones that we already see as well as the other ones. You can start to build this relational map. This is based on faces, on similar faces within your case or your investigation. That is Analyze Relations. And that pretty much covers what I wanted to get through in this in the video. if you guys have questions, I guess we can open it up now. And if I can answer them, I can. Realize if I can't answer your question, I'm just going to have to get, I'll have to get that information to the developers, and then I can get back to you, or you can simply shoot me an email. If there's something you want me to specifically demo or something I missed, please throw it up now. Reporting. Yes, I can show reporting real quick. So when I'm ready to create a report, I can just go over to the report export tab and hit create. And then I can select by category, filtered files, illegal files. Let's do by category. When you create a report in Griffeye Analyze, you create two things, a summary report and a file list. And we call this report. The summary report is just basically a summary of all the data in the case. You can also do a file list with hyperlink thumbnails, embedded thumbnails. You can make spreadsheets, all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to hit next, and then I can select whichever categories I want to report on. Just for speed purposes, I'm going to select these two. Click next. Then I can customize my report. I can drag these columns. I can put whatever I want first, file names, paths, whatever I want, and I can deselect whatever category, or excuse me, whatever column I wanted, select, deselect. I can then click next. I don't have any representative files for which is basically a way to get thumbnails into your summary report. And it's saying, hey, this is what it's going to create, a file list and a summary. So I hit start, created a report. And here's my summary report just based on my categories I selected. It's really cool. I love this summary report because it gives you a total of all the files, including unique files that are in here. There's no unique ones because I only selected a couple of small categories, but it'll give you a full count of how many actual unique files, how long the videos are. But what I like the best is each time you bring in an evidence item, you give it a source ID, and it'll give you counts on everything. So a good use case for this is you have a folder or let's say a thumb drive. Instead of naming it some random evidence number, you name it the actual 128 gig thumb drive. So you can quickly go down the summary report and say, hey, in the 128 gig thumb drive, there were 50 images that were child exploitive, whatever, or over here in this laptop, or this forensic image, you can kind of get an idea of exactly what was found where. So when they say, oh, I downloaded and deleted it, well, yeah, no, you didn't. So that's pretty cool as well. It's a faster way to upload, let's say, crime scene photos. So you can bring in, we have in America, we have comparison images as category 4, and the idea behind that is to bring in bring in photographs of your search warrant, of your scene, and then you can basically do a similarity search against those. Like say this is search warrant, whatever. I can start doing similarity searches to see if the setting matches crime scene photos match abuse photos that you found. Where can I find the variables to create a report? So that would be when you click the create report button, you can select by category, that's the most comprehensive. And then you can just change all your information in here. You just select whichever one you want in the file list, you can change. Otherwise, it just has a standard document right now. So let me see. Other questions? Any other questions? I'm sure I missed something. So how do you deduplicate? I'm not sure if I consider deduplication when it stacks. So it does that by default. If that's your question, that's basically what it does by default. So as it brings it in, it is set to stack, and it is set to stack files that are visual copies, which when you see visual copies, that means a photo DNA match. It's calculated to photo DNA, which is files that are visually the same, not similar. They are visually the same. It will stack them. So a faster way to upload. let's say crime scene photos. An easy way to enter videos. Yes. So I'm gonna get back to that in a second. David just asked about carving in the future. Yes, they're in development right now. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about is the carver, the building in carving into the program with a. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read questions. It is. Yeah, carving's coming. It's going to be built in here in a next couple of iterations. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not a developer, but I know that they're working on it right now pretty quickly. So I'm not exactly sure. I don't have the answers on that. Yeah, it'll be a third-party plugin basically. So it'll be built in, but it's not going to come with the core version. I'm sorry, I failed to mention that. That's something that'll be in the forensic app market, or a plugin that you can just basically have it do all the carving at once. Someone asked me to talk about databases and how to import. So we use Project Vic. Excuse me, I used to use Project Vic. I am still affiliated with Project Vic. However, I don't do investigations any longer. So, but the way to import your database, or to create one, let's say you have a set of files that are, already categorized for however you did it. All you have to do is you can create a new database, or you can connect to one that exists and import your file. So if I have a known set of hashes that I want to bring in, I can create a database, and I'll go in training, and I'll call as training demo. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to select the folder. I have to create a folder. We'll just call it new folder, put it there. And I'm going to call the database name training. And it's MD5 values I have, but you can bring in whatever you want that fits in there. And then I'm going to say multiple categories, because there's going to be a bunch in there. And I just create a new database. And then when I'm ready to import data into that database, I use this import to select the database. I go down, for this example, I'm going to use my VIX OData, and I'm going to go to, I got to find my, wait a second, HubStream. So we use the HubStream intelligent agent to get our hashes from Project Vic. So I'm going to go bring that in, and it's going to quickly, this is a very small data set. So it's going to import all the files. There's some conflicts because I already have files in there, but it go ahead and it takes the highest ordered one and overwrites whatever exists in there. I don't want to import another file. So now I want to look at this database, and I can go to overview, and now it shows me all the values that exist in that database. And then I can dig down even more if I want. Let's see. Someone said, could I ask the majority of people how they host their databases? We currently have hosted on a Windows share, but it's better to put on its own server with SSDs. Our database currently has 142 million hashes. Yeah, what's the majority? If you guys want to throw in the chat box, where do you keep it? We teach people, if you're in a small environment with several computers, or a lab environment, you can point your databases to a shared drive. And that way other people can access and connect to them at the same time. And one other thing, if you're going to share your databases, or put this up on a NAS or whatever the case may be, you're going to put it wherever you're going to put it. Another good thing to do is this series.xml. If you guys are doing exploitation cases where you have known series and stuff, you want to put this series settings on a shared drive as well, that other people can get to, so that you don't miss out on series information. All right, I'm going to look for a couple more questions. Let's see how much time we have. Oh, we're doing pretty good on time. So, visual copies. Yeah, so if I wanted to deduplicate files, I can, right here, by default, it stacks visual copies. But if your question is deduplicating, I want to pull these out and say, no, don't stack the photo DNA. I can just go to appearance and then uncheck stack visual copies. That's how you get that done. All right. To synchronize its local database with the shared database. Yes, it checks to see if they're out of sync, and if they're not, it syncs them up. So sometimes you'll bring a case in and it'll say that the databases are out of sync. Do you want to sync them? And then you would do that with it actually will do it automatically. But if you need to at the end of your investigation, let's say you've categorized a bunch of files and you want to move on and put all these values up in your database. You say, all right, these are all child sex abuse. And I want to update as such. You would select what database you want to update, if not all of them. And you say, hey, I just want to update. I want to upload my child abuse material. I can just do that and hit start, and it'll take that local database and it'll update it to the main database of the program. All right, let's see if I can see more questions. Anybody have any other questions or anything I missed? I just want you guys to, work smart. It's basically, work smart. I was trying to think of a good analogy when I was getting prepared for this. Using a forensic tool that does everything is like, this is probably a terrible analogy, but if a surgeon walked into an operating room with a steak knife, people would say, hey, he's using the wrong tool and he's creating more work. Can he get it done with that? Absolutely, but he needs a scalpel. This program, with the way that it deduplicates files, it pre-identifies files, it can use artificial intelligence to help search through those files. You're the surgeon. You need to have a scalpel. And if you're not using a scalpel, you're not using a tool like this to get through your huge amounts of pictures and videos, you're doing it wrong. You're creating too much work. We, in Phoenix, Arizona, the Arizona Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, we were able to reduce, we had 5 forensic examiners and 8 internet crimes investigators. And the backlog was over a year just to get cases done. It was over a year. We implemented the use of Griffeye Analyze, which was called NetClean when we implemented it. And we reduced the amount of people that did just child sex abuse forensic exams to 2. So we went from 5 examiners with an over a year backlog to 2 examiners with a 5-month backlog. So, and it just gets faster and faster. The more you use tools like this, the quicker you can get through and exclude files that don't mean anything to you, that aren't important in your investigation. I like to think of all these pictures and videos as this giant haystack, and using the power of filtering and the power of pre-identifying files and pre-categorizing files, we can start getting rid of huge amounts of pictures and videos that are not important to us. So we're not wasting time. And we're certainly not wasting time going over and over and over the same picture over again. If you guys have done examinations for any length of time, you will see that if you're using an old tool, you're going to see the same picture numerous times. Because a lot of offenders, especially in the CSA space, they have their material all over all kinds of different storage medium. They have it on thumb drives, hard drives, laptops, and they'll have it all over the place. So we can quickly narrow down and find that smoke, or get rid of it. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So we can go in there, into a folder if we need to, and find all the similar related images. So I'm going to do a quick, again, I want to do a quick face within video. So I'm going to grab that part of my picture of my daughter. Again, this is within a video, and I'm going to do a similar face, and boom, it's found all these similar faces. Unfortunately, she's with this really ugly guy. That's me. Anyway, so it's pretty slick. It'll get you through, get rid of those huge amounts of files that you don't care about, files that you just need to exclude. Get rid of pieces of those haystack and drill down. Think about what the focus of your investigation is. If it's victim ID, you want to see if there's any live victims, which is the always of the utmost importance. And the workflow that we adopted and created in Arizona is victim ID first. The first thing you do when you sit down is you see what's being generated, and then see this first generation files, which is anything that's got make, model, serial number, that type of thing. And match it up against any cameras that you may have on scene. If you happen to have a camera with a known serial number, things like that, see what this person is producing. That's a great way to start. And then using your GPS too. A lot of people are taking photographs. My phone by default, it embeds GPS coordinates into every picture I take. And a lot of people have it left like that by default. So again, remember, you can use your fencing to see if there's anything occurring in your local jurisdiction. Let me see. Yes, face detection is a DI Pro feature. So let me bring up the Analyze Forensic Market again. So the NCMEC utility pack, VIX OData, and the Forensic Utility Pack. These three come with Core. The Analyze Relations, Face, Analyze Statistics, Annotations, the Hex Viewer, Social Media Identifier, and your Video Utility Pack are pro versions, or excuse me, pro features. Camera forensics, if you have, I noticed a lot of people that signed up are with ICE or DHS. So HSI, excuse me. If you have an ice.dhs.gov email or dhs.ice.gov, I don't remember, you have a site license for camera forensics, and it is not required to have DI Pro to have camera forensics. If you have your own license, you can buy it externally, but you can turn on the camera forensics plugin in Core if you have a separate license from them. If you buy Analyze DI Pro, it comes with camera forensics, so there's no need for any additional cost. Let's see. Recording video. Yeah, so for the people that wanted to know if this will be available later, yes, absolutely. You should get a link in a couple hours. It has to process the video, and then it'll send it up to you. It'll give you a link where you can download and watch it. And guys, please do me a favor. So my name, again, is Eric Oldenburg. I am the law enforcement liaison for North America, but I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm a user of this program. That's why I know it so well, is because I use it in many, many investigations. But so what's funny is when I first started recently with Griffeye, my boss said, I want you to come out to Sweden and train the developers, train the people who write the software, how to use the software. And I thought to myself, wow, that's craziness. But it was one of the most productive trainings I've ever had, because I was going through the entire training and I would come up with a bug or something that annoys me or something like that. Well, that's just me talking to the developers. If you guys find something that's important, you have a question, a feature request, a bug, please use the forums. That's what they're there for. Part of my job is to be in the forums and answer questions quickly. I am here for you. If you do have, I'm sorry, I just saw a question pop in. If you do have, now I forgot what I was talking about. So, all right. Someone asked me if I can show how to get a copy of how to get DI Pro. So Griffeye has made it super easy to get their software. All you have to do is go in, and if you haven't registered, you can go ahead and register. But I'm going to sign in. I already have a registration. So once you're logged into the portal and you've got an ID with Griffeye, when you sign up, you'll get an email with your username and password, stuff like that, once you register. But once you're logged in, I'm having speed issue here, apologize. Here we go. So once you're logged in the upper left-hand corner, there's a products link right here. In your account, you can see all the stuff that you have, but under products, you just select the products link. And this is where you would get a copy of DI Pro right here, and it's $9.95 a year. This is just like buying something on a website. You just go on and click it, say, I want a DI Pro license, how many users, how many years you want, and then you can add it to your cart. It's very simple. Let's see. Any other questions? Can I list the freaking import errors? Yeah, so that's the best way to obtain a pro license. Daniel, can a list of frequent import errors be populated in the Griffeye guide so that users have an aid memoir of why files fail to import? Yes, we can consider working on something like that. Part of my job is to make it easier for you guys to use the software. I'm actually right now I'm producing some short 3-4 minute videos on certain aspects, how to create a case, how to update your database, how to export things. I'm walking through all the training so that you guys have a quick reference. So you don't have to watch an hour-long video or an hour-long video on how to do something that you just need 3 minutes to do. All right, very good. I got a question. Custom sort a report rather than list it alphabetically. Yes, of course. So I'm going to go to create. I'm going to create a report. We'll call this report 1. I'm going to get to that page where I can show you how to do it. Create a file list. Next. So right when you get to this point, this sorts just your column headers, just like in grid view. You can sort your report based on category or whatever you want to, whatever column you want to sort it by. That's how you would do that. And you can also, it works just like the grid view. So up in the grid view, if you click a column header, it'll sort by that column header. You can also filter right within the grid view. Grid view is a very powerful view as well. Is there a support team to answer user questions or questions about technical issues? Yes, there is. They have a fantastic support team, and I am part of that support team. So if you have any questions, you can email me directly. Let me put up my contact information again. So yeah, you can, feel free to send me an email. I will, but please use the forum. We want as many users in there as possible because a lot of users can answer questions that, can answer questions that other people may have. That's the support team. So when you ask if we have a support team, the forums is like your extended family of support. So direct support is only included in DI Pro. So if you have a core license, you got to use the forums. But if you have a pro license, then you can get direct support from Griffeye Analyze. We just, it's an amazing product to get the core version at no cost. There's just not enough, room for, a support team for a free product. So, but realize that the people at Griffeye, the support team, will be monitoring the forums for, core questions. I would never look at a forum question and say, oh, wait, do you have core? Do you have pro? Unless it has to do with that particular product. So, and that's pretty much it. If you, I apologize. If please use tools like this to get through your pictures and videos. I credit Griffeye and its skills and ability to pre-categorize, deduplicate, and filters. I credit it with keeping me around for as long as I was around doing, child exploitation investigations. So with that, I will say goodbye. If you have any questions, please, again, use the forums, or you can email me directly, and this should be available to this should be available to download within a couple hours. I believe you'll receive a follow-up email. So thank you very much, and you guys have a wonderful day.